Sitting here with Matt and Robyn. You have been practicing the wheel of consent and now just started the school of consent.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy to sit here with you and get all your knowledge and your experience. Because also the wheel of consent is getting more and more important in the Wildman as well.
Mm.
And I just mentioned that I had some sharings now where, because what I'm working with is normally men is just having the habit of porn, masturbation, fast, rapid masturbation. And what I teach them is like, slow down, start to explore your body, start to see where does the pleasure come from, and get to know your desires and your pleasure zones, and there's like such a big revelation for them. And it comes also when I went to the Betty Martin workshops, also just touching an object that can be erotic, and that the pleasure is coming from me, and it's not the woman.
I think that is probably the most profound experience a person can have, is making that shift and recognizing that pleasure, you don't give someone pleasure, you don't receive pleasure, you have an experience of pleasure in your body. And when you can awaken that sensation in your skin on any part of your body, your hands, your genitals, when you can feel and take in that pleasure, it doesn't matter what you're touching. It's an access point that you can go to anytime, anywhere.
The first workshop, when I started to touch this object, and I had this in my hand and just like felt that and felt this, my God, this is just so delicious. And then when the penny dropped, that, oh my God, this is receiving by doing. It's just this sensation of my skin sending impulses into my brain and telling me this feels good, this is pleasant. And this is not limited to my hands or to any part of my body. My entire body has this capacity of receiving by doing. That was just opening up this dimension of infinity, of feeling everything. And this is maybe 4 years ago, and it hasn't found any depth yet. So it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper, like learning to play an instrument. So my body becomes this amazing instrument of joy and pleasure, and the more I play with that, and the more pleasure I can receive for myself, specifically with my partner, is the more I come into internal realization where it's difficult for me to do that. So it comes again and again to deeper layers of feeling shame, on feeling inadequacy, on not feeling welcome with that, and then allowing stuff to pop up, and it's just one breakthrough after another. It's just and it has no ending. It is so beautiful.
There's a direct link between following the pleasure and being able to access that direct route of pleasure and letting go of the goal in a sexual engagement. So when you can let go, you drop the goal and you are just following the pleasure, there's nowhere to go, nowhere to get to, except being in your pleasure, whatever that is in the moment. And that becomes so juicy and delicious.
Yeah, sorry, because I'm just so...
Oh, no.
You need to, I want to share. Can you ask for it?
Are you okay when I'm going first?
Yes.
Okay. Not that I have more rights to go first, but I can ask. So
as long as you go first and don't come first.
Right. What one of the biggest kind of pennies was that has been dropping in there as well is that what Robyn just said about just that there is no goal, there is nowhere to go, is that pleasure is just something that happens in the body in the moment. The moment in itself, this is just where touch that I do for myself becomes really present. So I become, through this way of touching, really present in my body. And I do that for myself, and but what my partner is exploring without me having a goal and I need to go somewhere to an orgasm or to some experience, she is experiencing my experience just as presence.
Yeah.
And this is where everybody has this deep longing. How do you want to be touched? With presence. This is what that thing
That's
is
what
about.
that means.
Presence in touch.
Yeah.
That was just like
Yes.
bang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a play party here a couple of nights ago, and that's also what I experience more and more. Is like I don't touch anyone or I don't move before I feel pleasure about doing it. It's like before I was like, how to touch, how to please, how to, but it's like now it's like just looking at each other and just waiting and then like what do I really want to do? And as you said, then you have the taking. Can I also ask for that? Can I touch you that way, or can I kiss you, or daring to come up with these things? But it's like I don't want to leave the presence. Like I don't want to go anywhere, do anything before I enjoying it fully. And that's my experience also. Is like in the play party, it was like I was just having fun and I was aroused, but it's like the other person's body is starting to react because I'm feeling pleasure and I'm just enjoying this.
And there's nothing more pleasurable than being on the other side with someone who is totally present in their own pleasure. And you'd think it would be the opposite.
Yeah.
But there's a deep stillness and juiciness in being with someone in that place and being able to feel on your skin, on your body, another person totally in their pleasure.
But that takes also some vulnerability. That's what I found for myself, and I feel like that's also the path for a lot of men, because they want to be goal oriented, or we want to reach the orgasm, or we want to please the woman so that I can be a good lover. But to slow down, then is also these layers of vulnerability coming up. How has that been for you?
It is inherently vulnerable to go into connection with these impulses and like taking a risk, if that is okay to do this and that for myself, or to ask for this and that for myself. The fear of rejection, being judged of being a pervert, or wanting something that is too much. That's just like it's on a level of blockages that most people explore and keeping them away from going there. So it's inherently vulnerable as well, kind of just being in connection with this place. There's a tenderness to it, and it just needs this kind of really sinking in and slowing down. And well, first in the first place, kind of noticing what is that really that I want here. What is that is right for me? That's the first place. The second thing is just kind of valuing that, what I want. This is important. And it's not for the other person. It's just like, I am the person who has to give this value. And then I have to be capable of communicating it in an appropriate way. And being capable of as well receiving a rejection that what I want is important. And even if the other person is not accessible for that what I want still counts. And I might don't get my need met here right now, but that doesn't make my need or what I want wrong or bad. And then the last place is just like, how do I receive, and am I capable of valuing that I'm receiving something, what I want to do. And this is so rich.
Yeah, because I think that's where I feel like the wheel is clicking. When it's like if I touch you and then it's normally what I'm giving, but I'm at the same time receiving because I'm enjoying it so much to touch. It's like that's where I'm kind of giving and receiving at the same time in one way.
Well, and in the wheel, the language is very specific. And so it's how are we defining giving versus receiving. And so when you touch, you can feel pleasure, but the pleasure is not the indicator of who's giving and who's receiving. Because you can give and you can feel pleasure. You can receive and you can feel pleasure. So what makes the difference is the agreement that we have.
Yeah.
So if you ask me, may I feel your arm? Yeah, go ahead. And it's for you. Or if I ask you, will you feel my arm? It's for me. You could be doing the exact same action. It both could feel delicious to both of us, but it comes down to what's the agreement that we have.
Yeah.
I've noticed in the last couple of years that there are so many different man movements out there, and it's been talked about the masculinity and the Shiva energy, and we have to hold space and being present, and I've seen so much rigidity about how men should be, and learning skill how to please and pleasure a woman in the right way, and learning more how to do the right things. And there's so much confusion out there. And really coming back to this place of that is not only we men have to learn that we are not responsible for somebody else's pleasure, we're responsible for our own pleasure. And that women are responsible for their pleasure in the same way. And that we as men, when women responsible for their own pleasure in this dynamic receiving by doing, that we come to this place of we don't have to do anything. We can just give access to our body, that they can fill up their cup in the way how they want, in the way how they need. And that can be for us as men very vulnerable as well as inherently pleasurable.
Yeah, that brings up a lot of thoughts. It's like especially about the Me Too movement.
Yes.
Where I think we as men, we feel like we need to take initiative, and we are maybe insecure, and then we're starting to do stuff. But it also, and that is something the man and us as men need to work on. And as you said, if I'm coming from a way of pleasure and I'm already full, then I will not touch you in an awkward way because I'm already full. So
you don't need anything.
I don't
from
need
me.
anything. But that also brings up the shadow of the feminine, which I find quite, because it's easy to be what I find a victim as a woman.
Yeah.
And I went to a workshop and then I saw like the women didn't have any boundaries, and it's kind of also very difficult to be a man when the woman doesn't have any boundaries. And I am programmed that I'm gonna guess and I'm gonna do things, but as well she doesn't have any responsibility, but it's easy to blame the man afterwards. And I feel like it's also needs an empowerment from the women to have clear boundaries, and also be clear. Can you say about the shadow of the feminine or the receiving actually more?
Yeah, and I would actually say the challenge and the opportunity for both men and women to step into a new paradigm where we claim what it is we want, and we have the empowerment, the ability to ask for it. And it's very vulnerable for both men and for women. And so as women, I think we are much, much more prone to sitting back and waiting for the men to take action. And so this is the shadow that I see and have experienced myself, where I came from a place of feeling like, well, the men are the ones that are the initiators. I just sit back and look pretty and wait for them to come.
Yeah.
And that's a shadow. And I'm sitting in the shadow of not being able to ask for what I want. not being able to ask for the type of engagement I would like to have with a man or a woman or anyone. And so I put the expectation on the man to know what to do. And if he does the right thing, great, I'm happy, I'm content, I feel good. If he does the wrong thing, that's where I can put myself into the place of the victim, and the man is the perpetrator.
Yeah.
And it's a setup.
Yeah. And I find it's more clear now, but still it's like this little bit game of women where they are able to express it. And it's kind of some weird energy going on. Is it me, or is it which should I approach?
Doesn't really feel clear.
And it's like this.
Yeah.
And I also feel awkward to ask, but it's, of course, if I want to ask, I can ask and dare to say it. But it's like, and I've seen some feminine games and like, look at me or notice me, but I don't dare to really look at you or take the initiative.
I've seen so much stuff around that. First, what I would like to clarify is the explanation of masculine and feminine, and there is no thing as such. It's a platitude to describe different behaviors. They belong in the most unconscious way to feminine to women and masculine to men. And even if it's the same dynamic in some sexual, tantric, spiritual environments, they call the integration of masculine and feminine within. What the fuck does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. So masculine and feminine are concepts. They don't exist. But what exists is the dynamic that we have all the same capacity of being responsible for dynamics that we project on so-called masculine or feminine behavior. But they belong both to people in a body with a penis and people in a body with a yoni. There is no thing as such. But I would like to just point one thing out that I have seen as one of the shadow behaviors in women, and that's the taking dynamic. When women having access to taking to a certain degree, they can do and receive in a very sensual way, and they just touch and feel, and they're just getting a guy turned on to exactly that degree that he is activated and then taking over to do the right things. And dear him, he's not doing the right thing. Dear him, he's just too rough. Dear him, he don't know how to please her in the right way. Dear him, he hasn't really got the message, this is what I want. Dear him, he can't respond in enough masculinity to read her mind and to give her the right orgasm. So I've seen a lot of stuff specifically in women, and where I would like to inspire women into is that this is not an activation for a man to get the right things doing. It is just like stay in connection with that and do more of that.
So taking doesn't belong only to men.
Taking means just like for women, just use your entire body. Use your genitals, use your breasts, use your mouth, use every part of your body on any part of the body of the man. And if he is taking over and thinks he has to go in action because he has been programmed in that way, tie him up. Just have longer terms, have half an hour or an hour, and find your own little blockages where you keep yourself away from feeling more of yourself on somebody else.
So this taking, allowing dynamic of the wheel is, for me, it's where all of the juiciness is. And I love to be in the position of allowing. Like, that's a place where you can drop into this deep space of surrender. And just, I give my body to this man to just like ravish me. And it's beautiful. And it's not a place only for women. What I have discovered is that men want that just as much as women. And so for me, it's been a process of being able to flip that dynamic and be able to go into action for my own pleasure and to take and to give Matt the opportunity to drop into that place of allowing, of just giving his body and not having to do anything. And it's been a process of me learning and embodying that aspect of taking and being able to follow my pleasure and stay with myself as I include my whole body, and as Matt said, like rubbing myself against him, and so it's been this really beautiful exploration between us of being able to find my power in that and my turn on in that, because I was never taught how to do that. I don't think many of us were, man or woman. And so the more we can play with both of those aspects and flip it back and forth, the richer our relating becomes.
Yeah, because then it's not me as a man, I need to be in my masculine or serving.
No.
But it's like, as you said, I almost can't get enough of allowing on being in that, and what I've been really surprised about is also that women are really loving to be in the taking role. And it's like still like, oh, do you really like to do it? Yes, please
I
more.
love doing it.
Yeah, please more and practice that.
Yeah.
But that's
There's one specific saying about you learn allowing when you learn taking. The better you become in taking, because you learn about the other person's boundary, or to respect their boundaries, because you can feel their boundaries, the more you can dive in and respect your own boundaries when they're getting crossed. Because if you don't know where your boundaries are, there's nothing that you can respect within yourself.
Yeah. And likewise, you become better at serving. But when you become better at taking, because in taking, that's where you learn to fill yourself up. That's where you learn to give yourself permission to take in the pleasure, the nourishment. And when you can do that, then your serving becomes more clean. You don't have to get anything in return for the gift that you're giving.
So then my curious question is, how is the sex life looks like when you're applying the wheel in your relationship?
We both have direct access to this direct route of pleasure. We follow the pleasure and the sensation in our skin, and that's primary. We then tune into where is the other person. And so as we are feeling pleasure on our skin, we're also tuning in where is the other, and we find those places where we can play on this edge of our own pleasure while also within the limits of the other. We let go of the goal. So it's not about peak orgasm. So everything becomes, we were joking about foreplay. There is no foreplay. It's all play. It's all following the pleasure. And then it becomes this dance between this take-allow dynamic, that sometimes I'm in taking and Matt's allowing, and then we just are following this flow and it flips, and then Matt goes into taking and I'm allowing, and it's this dance back and forth. And that has become our default, that it's about following our own pleasure first and staying attuned to the other and dancing on this edge of orgasm and pleasure and sensation.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
In the beginning, when I started with Tantra, I was like taking away my ejaculation and orgasm and then being able to keep having sex for a long time. But what I found in my Tantra journey in the beginning was like, then it should be squirting orgasm, and then it should be womb orgasms, and then I'm a good tantric lover.
Yes.
So you place one goal with another goal.
Yeah, but it was like, and that's what I feel now is like, fuck the goal, even the womb orgasm and squirting orgasm. I I don't want to do it. It's like if the body does it, or we come there, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we even noticed that for me, this was a newer practice of taking out the goal.
Yeah.
And so the goal became not having a goal.
Yeah.
The goal became not orgasming.
Yeah.
And suddenly I found myself orgasming almost instantaneously. It's like, fuck, there it is again. It's like, fuck. And so then it's like, okay, let go of the goal not to have a goal.
Yeah.
And then it was like it opened into this place of just expansion. But it really, like, it was a process of like, it's just another goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said, and I guess this is for many men who just enter in this tantric feel the big pitfall. This first, it's just like you just cultivate your own sexual energy, your own orgasm, and you just see that your life force energy is important and vital, and you cultivate that, and you just see your own addiction to porn, you see your own addiction to your own orgasm, to ejaculation, and just like you just get really clean and clear, and all of a sudden it is getting replaced to this addiction of your partner's orgasm, and it's getting replaced with this pleasing behavior. You should be the right man who has all the tantric skills and kind of just doing the right thing to a woman and wanting her to have more and better and deeper explosive experience, and that becomes another addiction, and letting that go. Who are we as men when it's not about our orgasm, and it's not even anymore about the orgasm that your partner can have or that the woman can have? And then you're dropping in a real place of connection, of real vulnerability, and this is where it becomes really challenging.
Yeah, and also with the giving sessions, it was like we both giving session. I don't know. Yeah. You give, and as a session giver also, I have kind of an expectation, or I'm gonna fix the client, or I'm gonna make, and it's easy to go into some serving mode, which is not fully true.
Yeah, I'm the expert.
I'm the
should
expert.
know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to even put aside the goal there as well, I find my sessions are getting deeper.
Yes.
It's like I don't know how to de-armor anymore, and it's like same with in my private life. I don't know how to make love.
Yeah.
But like, let's see what's coming up in the field, and what is here.
Yeah.
And it's like, I am different than yesterday, and you are different than yesterday, and this is totally new way of interaction.
Yeah.
And to dare to bring that in sessions, in love relationship, in every meeting.
Yeah, there's an important piece specifically about de-armoring, and I love Betty Martin's approach about that de-armoring is not about poking through people's resistance and the physical form. That how she used that is de-armoring is when you can find literally your own blockages about receiving pleasure. People go to de-armoring because they think they need to feel pain. They need to break through any blockages. But when you just actually start to learn to ask for what is already pleasurable and follow that pleasure and ask more for that, and getting in connection with all this internal resistance of not being valuable or not being kind of receptive for pleasure, that can be incredible de-armoring. So allow the emotions to come up to avoid pleasure. Pleasure is so much more healing than pain.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I love the conversation, and really good, and eye opener for me, and confirmation for me, and and you started just a school of consent, so people can find you there. You do trainings all over the world. How can people find you?
Two ways. One way is
schoolofconsent.org.
and the other one
liberated.love.
And Robyn has her own webpage for her individual service. What is?
RobynDalzin.com.
And you find my service as well, uniquetantra.com.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and happy journey.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for asking the questions.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.